fit.
Well, we just finished lining.
And I think they were lining that down there by the ambulance district, but it's not really good state grade. It could run alongside the pipe for a long ways. So,
We'll see. We'll see.
you know, this month it could make a huge difference.
Yeah, it might. Well, they'll be done here in the next week or two.
Did I hear you say the project will be done?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Just a few odds and ends.
Minor things.
Huh?
Money.
Well, I mean, besides that. They're not really done, but I said they're done. We still got a few things out there. Minor things.
Budget got things right.
Well, we're in HD.
Hot and dry? HD, hot and dry?
Uh-huh.
Sure. All right. I call this meeting to order. Mr. Colton's back again. Would you like to lead us in a prayer?
Yes, I can. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us and allow us to be here tonight. Lord, we thank you for the city officials here, our leaders here. And Lord, as they come together tonight, Lord, we ask that you will just give them guidance, you will give them direction, that you will give them vision for our community here in our city. And Lord, we just ask that that everything be done here decently in order, and Lord, for the betterment of our city. And Lord, we just thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That picture looks good.
June 13th, 2016, the Board of Aldermen met in regular session with Mayor Hunold presiding. Aldermen present: Renee Edwards, Rick Winter, Dot Cricksizer, Delmer Strange, Ryan Mason. Absent: Ron Stansberry. Mayor Hunold called the meeting to order. The invocation was given by Clay Talton, pastor of the Life of Christ Church. The Pledge of Allegiance was led by Ryan Mason. Minutes of the May 9th and May 24th meetings were read and approved. Collectors and treasurers' reports were given. Peggy Collins, city treasurer, met with the board. She said Wade Stables, PC, recently completed the city's 2015 audit. Peggy reviewed the audit with the board and noted that there was only one finding, which is a normal one for small businesses: the lack of segregation of duties. Motion was made by Renee Edwards and seconded by Dot Cricksizer to pay all bills as presented. Motion carried. Clay Talton, pastor of the Life of Christ Church, met with the board. He wanted to confirm that the father-son campout could still be held at the Edina Country Club. At this time, the board reviewed a letter from John Bodie, president of the Knox County Community Development Corporation, dated June 12, 2016. Bodie stated that their board voted unanimously to cease with any further repairs to the City Lake buildings, to stop with all efforts to administer the use of the buildings, and recognizing that the City of Edina is the owner of such properties, relinquish all rights and deeds to the buildings. With this information, there was a consensus to leave as is for now and allow the father-son campout to continue as planned. C.E. McCarty addressed the board and requested a stop sign be installed on Shoemate where it intersects with Broadway. The board agreed that they would address this at the July meeting. Jeff Doss met with the board. He said he was representing a group of individuals that are interested in developing a recreation area on the city property around the lake. He suggested this area would be a good location for ball fields, a camping area, pool, and walking trail. Doss said a county sales tax has been a suggestion to maintain this type of recreation area. The board agreed that they are interested in developing this area, but they want to consider all options. Mayor Hunault said the names of the board members and a more detailed plan would be needed before the city could lease this property. Department reports. Ty Parrish, utility supervisor, met with the board. Ty reported the routine activities completed by his crew during the last month. At the board's request, he agreed to replace the swing chains at Miller Park, add more chips to the Rotary playground area, and make sure the park restroom is cleaned every day. Mike Wright, wastewater superintendent, met with the board. He said a service agreement will be needed for the new SCADA system. Motion was made by Rick Winter and seconded by Doc Cricksizer to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with iControl Solutions for the SCADA service agreement. Motion carried. This is a 3-year contract with a quarterly fee of $105. Officer Robert Becker reported that the police department is continuing to contact owners of derelict vehicles and enforcing the ordinance regarding tall weeds and grass. Mark Ross, Klingner and Associates, did not attend the meeting, but sent a written report updating the board on the sewer project. The board reviewed an application for a building permit submitted by Doug and Linda Kerr to build a one-car garage on the north side of their house at 401 Northeast Avenue. Motion was made by Rick Winter and seconded by Renee Edwards to approve this permit. Motion carried. Under Alderman comments, numerous topics were discussed, but no action being taken. Motion was made by Doc Cricksizer and seconded by Renee Edwards to adjourn. Motion carried and the meeting adjourned at 9:35.
Thank you.
Any additions or corrections?
I remember pretty well that way. Collector's report.
Hello. I have the collections for June 2016. Water total, $23,418.06. Sewer total, $24,273.71. Sanitation total, $14,073.37. General fund total, $6,707.24. Recreation total, $306.18. Street total, $3,895.86. Special lights total, $67.33. Meter deposit total, $1,410. Reserve and improvement fund total, 0, with a grand total collected $74,151.75. As for shut-offs this month, we had one, but they've already moved out of town, and the deposit covered what we had owed to us, so we're good.
Good. No other questions?
Thanks.
Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report's in front of you. Treasurer, yeah,
Doesn't look any different, you know.
nothing unusual or, yeah, yeah.
If we can keep that going, we'll get a win.
Yeah.
All righty. Monthly bills.
I haven't been through them all, so I can't really say.
All righty.
Can we go back to it? Or get everything before I-
Who looked at them?
I did.
Three of us did.
You did too?
Nothing jumped out at, well, there's a couple of them that jumped out.
You want to be-
Yeah, it's on the last stack there.
on the line?
It's still on the last stack. No, it's been shuffled.
These were topics I looked at.
This one.
Yeah, I saw them down there. I don't know why that is.
Closed and, some initiating orders and stuff like that, big deal. And then it's probably good call.
Where was this at?
It doesn't say, it wasn't elaborated.
I'm sure it's not full that time. I mean, it's a- Plus on down. Yeah.
I think Mike.
You saw it, Mr. Mason?
What?
You saw it?
Did you see this book?
Alrighty. We'll move on to, citizens' comments for the moment. Give, monthly bills to be looked at. Citizens' comments, if there's any.
I would just like to address the board tonight. Last month at your meeting was my wife's birthday, and I had plans to take her out, and I had a letter that needed to be delivered, and I couldn't be at both places at one time. My wife won out. So
Rightly so.
I have heard some comments, and some people took it the way that we were just kind of taking our balls and going home with what we had said in the letter concerning the lake property. Back when the country club was dissolving, one of the issues they had was any assets that they had left when they dissolved, they would have to go to all the old existing members and offer them an equal settlement on dividing all the assets. So the one thing they could not have was assets left over. And so they had some bills, and so we totaled up the bills, and so Community Development Corporation gave them the money that would satisfy their debts, and in exchange they signed over all the assets that they had to us at that time. And it was just simply a way of clearing their books, okay? Community Development never had any plans to do any major development or anything like that. What we looked at was, and we have always considered the one big major area that the city has for development down the road is really the lake. And so we just wanted to make sure those buildings didn't deteriorate. And so when we got the country club, the clubhouse, it needed a new roof. We put a new roof on it. The back patio was falling off, and so we put a new second floor patio on it. We finished the siding on it, and we did some work on the inside. There was a leak, and so we patched the leak in the basement and put up gutters so that it wouldn't leak anymore. And so we had gone just about as far as we had planned on going as far as fixing it up. And some of you weren't here last January, but that night, Bill Alberti, if those of you who were here, if you remember, Bill Alberti and myself and Echo got in a full discussion, and Bill Alberti said absolutely those buildings belong to the city, and it wasn't an issue for us. But we went, and I talked to Anita at the assessor's office, and she said, well, you know, there's people coming in and they're wanting me to put these over here, and it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I said, look, we don't have an issue with the city owning these. If it's a real problem and it's causing problems for people, I said, we'll settle it. And so she said the best thing for us to do, because what the country club did was they gave us bills of sale for the buildings that they own, because they weren't real property, but we registered them as personal property. And so we called a board meeting. We had a board meeting for a couple of other issues, and during that board meeting we said, let's just go ahead and back off and send a letter that says we recognize that all those buildings belong to the city. That's not an issue. But at that time, then I had brought some ideas and you all kind of said you had some ideas of your own. And so we just decided we'll just back off and let you all do what you want to do, because I don't want to make promises on it and then have those promises, not be able to keep those promises. And so that's what the purpose of the letter was. And I gave it to Anita. I showed it to her. She said that would solve her dilemma there at the courthouse. And so all of those properties now should be listed under properties that are owned by the city. And we canceled all of our insurance that we had on it and all that kind of stuff. So that's all we were doing, was backing away. And we started working on this in January after Bill Alberti made the statement that they were the cities and we needed to get that cleared up. So it took us that long to get it done. So that was kind of the way it goes. And those of you who were at the table in January, you kind of, I'm sure you remember that night.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the result and the end result, I hope, of that. And so we just wanted to clear out and say, you know, and there have been some people saying, why in the world would we be spending all that money on a building that we didn't have any interest in? I think this community needs to understand that there are some people out there that want to do things to help this community. And that was the reason we started our organization. That's what we've tried to do. We've spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in this town trying to help clean it up and keep it up. And so the lake was just part of that. And so hope that clears it up and nobody thinks
water,
that.
in my opinion, John. So do you hold any claim to it, or you no claim, or?
Nope.
Not even the contents then, is that correct?
Nope.
Contents are all still there, the tables and the kitchen stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that, the cracks in the bottom, in the basement,
Mhm.
had let so much moisture in, and the dehumidifier down there went out last winter or the winter before, something like that. And so mold was a real problem. So there's like all those tables and chairs in the basement were no good because they'd all molded, and it got into the fabrics and into the cushions and everything. So, but the good tables upstairs, all of those were still okay. And we did put new carpet in it, new linoleum in it also. But we just wanted to back off and say, you know, do with it whatever you want to. We don't have any claim. You don't owe us for anything that we've done. We just donate that to the project, and you know, down the road if you need something, let us know. Okay.
Thanks.
Is there any other city or citizen comments? Mr. Mark Ross? Sorry. On Kazan.
I know you missed me standing here, but.
I did.
Stop sign on Broadway and Shoemate. I wish the board would consider that stop sign if you'd like to live in my neighborhood for a while. You wasted all the time and effort putting a stop sign in front of Mr. Schroeder's house, which is a three-way stop and no viable intersection. You pretty much slow down when you're coming from the north anyway, but the other intersection is much more need of a stop sign than the one in the street in front of Mr. Schroeder's house. Sorry, I don't know what that street is, but yes.
We went by and looked at it like we discussed.
So you'll take it into consideration when you get down there.
It's number 12 on the third.
So, yeah, driving by and looking at it, you need to like park there, like about 8 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock when school gets out, and yeah. And all the semi trucks and the grain trailers and all that leave the farm shop and don't want to come through town, the heavy equipment that comes straight off the rock road all the way to the highway.
In your opinion, which way should the stop sign say?
I would make it a four-way stop sign. I mean, you might as well stop, because people are using that four-way intersection just as much, and getting somebody to stop on Broadway. Of course, I didn't know the stop sign. I ran the stop sign, I can tell you 100 times before I saw that it was there in front of Mr. Schroeder's house.
I did too.
I'm like, why are you stopping? Why are you motioning me to go on? And I was waiting for them to turn. I'm like, oh, there's a stop sign there. Didn't know there was a stop sign there.
Well, the deal with that, Monica, was, we're trying to slow the traffic down. There's no stop sign whatsoever from the highway all the way down.
I know.
And that's where they decided was probably the best place to stop it. But we also put stop signs earlier before that there between Moritz's and coming from Ham Street. Those two, but there's none, it's not a four-way. That might be a place for four-way instead of where it's at, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Because we got traffic just shooting through there, straight shot to County Road.
I know, I live there.
And that's why we had to put a stop sign where we did.
Yeah.
Because nothing's gonna be great, but at least it's
No,
not.
nothing's gonna be great, and they're not gonna slow down. I mean,
You're gonna have some running no matter what.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, they're gonna come up the hill and cut through from the County Barn Road all the way across, because it just, yeah, it's the way to go. But I guess I really would appreciate it if you would look at putting some kind of a stop sign there.
See, it's on our agenda
Okay.
from
We did
Last time,
we can
yeah,
take
it said you were gonna
citizens'
consider it,
comments and
so,
all that
right.
yeah.
into account.
Just giving you my 2 cents because I live in that area.
Sure.
Monica, do you think they're going too fast, or do you think it's just a traffic issue in general, it's too much traffic? What do you think
Both.
the biggest issue is?
I moved there 13 years ago, I guess, and traffic was minimal down through there. But now with all of the lovely Edina roads that we have and the potholes and then blocking the streets off to work and all that, everybody cuts through that way from the farm shop over. The farmers that you see cut through there is consistent all day long that like turn at the bottom of the hill, come up the hill, go by the V, you know, come around, go to the farm shop, just so they don't have to cut through town, I'm assuming. You know, people, tractors, machineries, grain trailers, but yeah. And most of the time, they're driving the same speed they are that they pull off the highway. And when they come down through there.
It's been really bad this summer because they've had the highway shut down.
Right.
Doing the sewer work, so a lot of people, instead of waiting through that, have gone.
Right, they cut through.
They cut through there so they don't have to wait on 6.
And when school gets back and said, if you're still on the fence about where you want to put the stop sign, come down there when school starts. Because like Angie's daycare is there, the kids, or the city workers are going to work, they're coming around, people are dropping off their kids at Angie's, the school buses are coming through that area, and it's a big intersection. So I know it doesn't seem like it if you're not living over there, but, yeah. So, just put my 2 cents in, thank you.
Thank you.
Ross?
Try to be brief, but we have a number of things to go over this evening. Just kind of an update on progress. Willis Brothers came back and did Polk Street work, got the service tied in. They'll have a little bit of cleanup work to do with that once it settles a little bit more. They also got the gentleman over there on Fulton Street tied in, out into Fulton Street. So they're done with that extra work, except for warranty work and cleaning it up, which will probably be appropriate in September when we can plant some grass in a few places there, so. Municipal pipe tool, if they don't get done this week, it'll be next week. They're really close to being finished up with their work on the lining and point repair work. So hopefully some of those shutdowns and road closures or things like that will be going away soon. Utility Solution, they're done with their manhole work, except for just a few minor items, one being a manhole lid that seems to be wobbling. I think there's a couple of nubs on the lid itself that just need to be ground down so that thing will set in place and then have a gasket put around it. They had indicated they may be back later this week to finish that up. Plus we had a couple of things that in the last big rain we had that they had just a couple of leaks and a couple of manholes. So they just have 3 or 4 items left. Keokuk Contractors, they've got fix the sump pump at the Reed Street lift station, and then they've got some pressure transmitters that were damaged when the controls people came. They accidentally turned the power onto them on the wrong voltage. Messed them up. They finally got those back in, so they got to swap those out. I believe that's all that's on their list to do. Currently, we're underrunning about to the tune of about $250,000 overall, so we're really in good shape on budget. And then after tonight, assuming everything's approved, we will be into the grant money as far as our funding, so all the loan money will be finished up. I gave Margaret a current tally on where we're at with each contract and overall, so I don't know if there's any questions on any of that. I did hear that MoDOT had some concern with something, but nobody has indicated what that was or called me about
All
that.
the manhole covers on all the state highway.
The manhole covers?
Yeah, they said they're sunk in too much, they'd have to either pour asphalt or be replaced.
They're all better than what they were, and they're all either flat.
I'm just telling you what they said, and we're
There's-
liable, and you're the.
Who called you?
Trent,
Trent.
he's the one that runs the permits for the state to do the work.
Okay. We've dealt with Jared Muir up here on that, so I'm not familiar with Trent. We'll have to talk to them.
I got a call the other day, and it may be Jared, but I won't say Trent, I don't know.
Okay.
However, they're not, at the beginning of spring, when I took over as mayor, they were all right, if there was no complaints. Now, they're not all right.
Okay.
I have no idea why, other
I don't
than
either.
they've had some complaints.
There's one that is wobbly, and that one will be fixed.
That's all B.
And then there's one out here on 6 to the east of town that is a little bit low, but if we adjust it with a donut, then it'll be too high. And then they're gonna be complaining because their snow plows are gonna get hung up on it.
There's gotta be a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah, so, I'll talk to Jared Muir and see what their issue is. You're not liable for those.
We are, according to them.
They're pushing buttons, I'm just telling
And then
you. I will address it with them.
All right.
So, I drove through probably about 80% of the streets in town this afternoon, looking over things, and all the state highway routes, and those are the only two I know of that are any bit of any concern. Everything else is pretty darn flush with the road, so.
One south of 6, south of where Little Jess used to be, is pretty low.
Okay.
There's one out there in front of Jamie Nichols, it's kind of low, and there's 2 streets up over, that's kind of low.
Okay.
And the rattling going on B, which I.
Rattling when I've heard complaints about banging around when people drive through.
I drove over it and thought the bottom was going out of my car was daydreaming and went.
Yeah. All right, that should get fixed later this meeting, so. So that's where we're at on the progress. So with any luck, we should be, by the next meeting, pretty much done with everything, for the most part, and we'll just be down to warranty work items, so. I do have a number of items. We didn't have any pay requests or anything last month, so that's why I didn't come. I just said it's written report. But we do have pay requests and things this month. The first one is Kit Cut Contractors, pay request number 7, which is for $1,719. That's all it's for.
Really?
Yeah.
I like those.
Make them all like that.
So, we need consideration of approval on that.
You waited for me, I might as well start it.
The easement at the farm shop will be signing a couple hours.
I'll just do that here. Went down to the bottom.
Right.
So, keep the contractors, Ron, Rick,
All in favor?
all in favor.
Good.
days, or are they overdue?
As far as
Municipal.
municipal, March 18th, so April, May, June, July, about 115 days.
What's the damage rate?
250 a day.
50 a day.
Yeah.
What, is there any other reasons why they're not done any sooner?
They got started late, that's why they're not done on time. As you recall, they started, I believe 2 weeks after we sent them a notice that, their contract time was about up. And, obviously they've had enough, would have had enough time to get the work done in the time that was allotted, because they basically knocked it all out in about 120 days, so 115 days, so. They just got started late. They never did give me an explanation as to why. I assume they had another job or something that ran long, but
We had one company ask for an extension, it wasn't this one.
no. No. But as far as municipal pipe tool, what you wanna do about that is completely up to you. They're, obviously, they're about done. If you wanna discuss, damages or whatever, they've still got quite a bit of money left on the table. Even after tonight, they'll have a couple $100,000 on the table. So, before we pay them their last pay request, we'll have that discussion, but they're not, we have a pay request tonight, but it's not gonna take them even close to where that damages would be an issue.
What would the damages be then?
Well, whatever that number is.
115 times 250 is what?
28,000.
Yeah. They have, their retainage is gonna be over 100,000, so if we wanna do something, we can just make an agreement with them to not pay them their entire retainage, so. That'll be for a discussion when they propose the last pay request to us. Really, once they got here, they've gone about to work, it got done, they've been easy to work with, we just got started late. So. And I don't know why that is. And they've never asked for an extension. We've never brought one to you, so.
I'm surprised they haven't asked for an extension.
Yeah, that
really.
surprises me too, but they
How
have.
many days you're looking at?
Yeah, yeah. I think they know.
Yeah.
They're behind, and they're just, as you know, they've been working in the rain,
Yeah.
they've been
Yeah.
working in the 100-degree days, like they've been here. So,
I see them, yeah, we see them every day.
yeah, so, I think they know.
The I&I flow is down to 71%.
From the start?
It's about 30% higher than what it was last year, supposedly. What is the deal?
31% higher than
It's
last.
30% higher, it's 71%. That's
Our,
the last
our,
one.
our flow, our daily flow is 30% higher than flow last year. Now, I did not calculate the amount of rainfall for this year or last year to know where we were at the rainfall. 'Cause I
We've
didn't- I
had
didn't-
less rainfall
Is
this
that-
year.
Could
than
that be
didn't-
last.
considered part
I
of
didn't have
what they're
those
doing
numbers.
with the
Flushing
steam and
out
stuff?
stuff.
The water they're putting in is going,
Yeah, that goes down there too, all their jetting
so
water
that
goes
30%
down.
might be
Yeah.
They're,
the
they're,
work.
u- they're, u- they're using 7,500 to 10,000 gallons a day, from what I talked to the guys, you know, which is about 10% of our flow now, so.
It's about 10%, so we're still looking for a loss of 20% going down over the hill.
Well, that may just be more usage.
We're also treating, we're treating everything we use, right?
Yeah.
So we're using a lot more water. I mean,
We are using a lot more water than.
during the month of June, a lot more.
Well, that's true. I mean, you've had a dry month, you're gonna use more water, you're an agricultural community, so. You really can't correlate water usage with sewer so much.
We're not looking at the water usage, it's the difference in what Mike's telling me he's seeing down over the hill. He has no inclination of what's coming down the hill at him, just what he sees go through. That's what I'm questioning.
Right.
So 20% basically is more usage and 10% might be construction.
Right.
So what do we need to look at as far as the 20%
Well,
increase.
what I look at is what happens when it rains.
Well,
And-
before, when it rained, all of that extra stuff went down in there.
It went down in there and it came out or flooded his plant or filled up in his screen, where we put the screen at. Mike, you can probably give us a better feel based on the rain, how much different it is now down there than what
Well,
it was before.
The numbers that we go by, I mean, I can look at the numbers from last year and I can look at the numbers this year. Before, when we would get half inch, 3/4 of an inch, or even an inch rain, the influent pit would flood, and you've seen the influent pit flood.
Yeah.
When the water gets over top of that meter,
Can't measure it.
your guess is as good as mine, because it is way out of range. It's
Can't
not,
measure.
so, it's reading its max. So, when you look at that, we could have been, last year, since if it did that 3 or 4 times, and even though it's reading its max, could be less than we actually treat, or not less, but
We
more
don't
than.
really know what the max was.
We don't know,
we
because
couldn't read it.
it's reading the max, it's above its
With the amount of-
limitations.
With the amount of dollars we spent, I'd like to know that and see what we can do different. Make sure that
I'd say a
We are
percentage of
compliant.
it is the fact that it's going straight to the plant now instead of having to go through all the rotten pipe and.
Yeah, well, how
Yeah,
many
a lot
times
of it
has it
wasn't getting
flooded?
there.
How many times has it flooded since we've done the work though, Mike?
We've only been flooded where an alarm has been set, where that means that the water's gotten out of range for the meter to read one time since we've done the work.
it's been a significantly more dry year though.
How much rain do you remember from that?
We had 2 inches at that time. I mean, we had a substantial amount of rain
2
at that.
inches in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Whereas a half inch in 2 or 3 hours is, we'll send us out before. So to me, that, you have 2 things that go on. You have infiltration and you have inflow. And your bigger problem has been inflow in the past. We get a spike and it slams the plant with a lot of flow at one time. And to the point he can't measure it because it comes out of the trench that it's measured in. And he would get that in a half-inch rain. And now it's 2-inch rain. The half-inch rains don't come out of the trench. So to me, that's how I measure the progress. You can't look at the gallons because in a drier year, there's so many factors. There's your water usage factor. There's your type of rains that you get factor. What kind of rain is it? Is it a 3-inch rain at one time? Is it a half-inch rain at one time? How long does it last? His flow comes back down pretty quick now too, before, which tells me our overall volume is less now than what it has been in the past. And there's no doubt in my mind we've made quite a bit of progress on how much flow ends up down at that plant, just by looking at the influent pit that's down there. I would caution trying to measure year to year because everything is so different year to year. Last year was wet in the first half of the year, but dry in the second half. This year we were pretty wet until about 6 weeks ago, and we've been really dry since then, maybe 8 weeks ago. So really the last 2 months have been pretty doggone dry.
What the new sewer line, sewer project was supposed to take care of all that overflow after the water was getting down there?
It's supposed to take care of the majority of it. You will never get all your I&I, and I think Echo could go back to her
New
interviews.
pipes and new.
You don't have not every
I
pipe
mean,
in
there
town.
shouldn't be that. Shouldn't be any.
Well, that's not
We
true
spend a lot of
because
money and
we
still
still have gutters tied in, and we still have sump pumps tied in.
Wasn't our smoke detection,
They wouldn't find sump pumps. We have to do a house inspection on sump pumps.
but they will find the gutters. Have they found all the gutters?
They did the smoke test, returned the results over to the city, and I don't know if you guys have made those people change disconnect.
I just got in April,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
not
I
have my
know.
paperwork in front of me,
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to get up to speed.
No, we did the smoke testing, and we turned those results over to the city follow up
Sounds
via
to
their
me-
ordinance.
Sounds to me like we spent a lot of money for nothing.
I don't agree with you. I don't think Mike agrees with you either. Things are a lot easier for him to control down there now. And the plant runs a lot better now without these big, huge surge flows that wash out the solids.
Nothing's perfect, it doesn't matter.
And I can tell you, you could spend what you've spent on this, and the best you can hope to do is deal with 70% of the I&I problem, because 30 of it's in on your laterals out in your system. And you don't own the laterals. Your ordinance doesn't allow you to do anything with the laterals. They're the
Somebody else's
homeowner's
yard.
But the
lateral.
problem is when it hits our plant, it's our problem. If it spills over, it's our problem. That's my concern.
That's right.
So if we're still flooding, what do we need to do more about it?
I don't know that there's a whole lot more you can do unless you want to take over service laterals. I'm telling you.
Well, if we're running 71% in a dry month, and we've been dry the month before, we're actually 3.5 inches behind rainfall this month. And we're still running 71% of our capability. And we spent this much money. I would like to know why we can't do something down there at the plant that seems to be the problem.
Why you can't do something at the plant?
Yeah, why aren't we treating it at the plant?
We are treating it at the plant. It doesn't
We
leave, it
are-
doesn't escape the plant.
It doesn't go up over the side now. One time this year it has.
Has it?
Yes, it has. I saw it myself.
Okay. When was that?
When was that? The day we got the 2-inch rain, the ball field flooded, the ball shack flooded, and ran down on the ball field where our kids play ball. I wanna know what we
Did
can
it come
do.
out of the plant, or did it
It
come out
came
of
out of the
sewer?
plant and then backflowed through the sewer to the building.
It never came
The
out of
geyser.
it never came out of the influence structure. It
No.
backflowed through a low
If
pipe.
it didn't come out of the backflow pipe, what would happen, Mike?
I don't know. I couldn't
Now,
tell you.
bullshit. You do know it would have come up over that. It was 4 inches from
It wasn't that high.
it. The hell it wasn't, Mike. I was there.
Well, I mean, there's a step that's marked on.
When there's 6 inches of geyser down there in the ball shack, out of every damn orifice there.
Well, them steps are 8 inches apart, and when it gets to the third step from the top is when it goes out the ball shack. So 3 steps is 24 inches from the top.
How big's the pipe going to the ball shack and how
4
much?
inch. It's a 4-inch
4
pipe.
inch. So we got 4 inches flowing in hard. And then we're geysering out of the pipes, out of the floor, 6 inches or better.
Well, I mean,
Do
you
you
can't.
wanna go on record and saying that if we put the backstop in it, the ball valve, you wanna go on record and saying that'll stop the 2-inch rain?
You can't. I mean, how can you?
That's
how
what
can
I'm saying. I
guarantee
wanna
anything?
address, I wanna see what we can do to make this bigger, better, nicer down there. If we need to do a bigger pit, that's what we need to do with our extra grant money.
Yeah, I don't know that the bigger pit is the answer either. You know, the thing you have to understand about flow is it seeks a level. And so as water as he's pumping through his wet well, and he's got his influence structure, all that stuff, it's holding a
Magically
level.
stops.
What?
It magically stops.
What
2-inch
magically stops?
rain shouldn't really affect the sewer.
What magically stops?
That's what I'm saying. 2 inches of rain shouldn't magically affect it in 20 minutes.
What magically stops?
The flow. You said it eats
No,
a
the
certain
flow
level
doesn't
and quits.
stop. It flows at that level, as long as it's got something on the other end pumping
I
it
know
out.
how water works.
Okay.
I've been around it a little bit.
You got water backing up out to the ballpark, not coming in from the ballpark.
We got it going through the influent pipe, going backwards, and then going out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. So he either needs to have more pumps on or more capacity of a pump. That's the only way you're gonna lower that level.
Does he have anywhere else for the water to go?
So it goes into his ditch, and then
It
he's
goes
got,
into his ditch. If his ditch is
he's
running
gotta
full.
flow out through his ditch, down through his clarifiers. Okay.
So if he's full in 2 inches of rain in 20 minutes, what do we do then?
Is 2 inches of rain doing that?
We know how much flow that is because we don't have a way to measure it.
I don't understand why 2 inches of rain would increase the sewer.
I can't do it.
2 inches of rain increases the sewer.
In 20
flow.
minutes.
Because you're still gonna get some
We're gonna get
inflow
some,
into the sewer. We didn't replace every pipe, we didn't line every pipe in town.
But we've had you go through and look at every pipe to see
Yes.
what we need to do.
That's right.
That is the problem. I wanna know why we're still getting the inflow. we're
I'm
getting.
telling you, what you
I'm
don't.
telling you, I wanna know why we're still getting the inflow.
I'm telling you, it's the services.
It's the services to the
Yes,
houses.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
So they're leaking.
Yeah, there's no way for us to know.
Our
where-
city is not green right now.
What does that mean?
Is there any lush oasis in town, guys? Is there any grass?
Water's
that's
not coming
dead?
out of the pipes, it's going into the pipes. If it rains, it's going in the pipe, it's not coming out of it. That's what a lateral does, it collects the water and drains it to the sewer. It
Yeah.
doesn't push the water out into the ground.
And you're saying it isn't our main, it's everybody else's in town.
What I'm saying is we've addressed your mains, what you have in your system that you can legally
But
address.
we still
through your
have to,
ordinance.
we still have to go
I
and
understand
answer
that,
the USDA.
but you don't have any authority to go replace people's laterals on their property.
No, but we still have to answer to overflow issues at our plant.
Yes.
So let's work together and
Yes.
figure out what we gotta do there.
At the ballpark.
If that's still the deal.
At the ballpark, we've put in a backstop, is that correct?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Has water come out into the ballpark?
We've not had any more rain, and that was not something you
And we-
addressed, that was something I addressed.
And we aligned the manhole that was down there by it.
Yeah, because it wasn't aligned, because my man went down in there and found out it wasn't lined, and it called you.
That manhole there wasn't inspected on the
Wasn't
initial
even
deal because it was
inspected.
inside the plant.
That's right. We didn't inspect the manholes at the plant.
So what haven't you else done? I mean, what is there other stuff that we need to worry about? That's my concern, Mark.
Okay, I understand, but you wanna play a game of gotcha all the time with this.
I've not played any game of gotcha with you.
You know, this is frustrating to me because I've sat here, you've sat in all the meetings, I think most of you sat in all the meetings, and I said that we're dealing with 70% of your I&I problem. I said that since day one. And that is your collection
At the
system that
beginning
you're
of this,
responsible.
at the beginning of this, you said, we don't know what to measure. We can't say what to measure. That's your own words.
Yeah, what to measure down at the plant.
Now you're
You know
saying
now-
you've done 70%.
No, you're mincing words here. 70% of your collection system has been dealt with. Your collection system, I'm sorry, 70% of all the flow all the issues that you have control of has been dealt with. You can't deal with the 30% if you don't have the right to deal with it. You follow what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
Sewer laterals, you don't have in your ordinance any authority over that.
Maybe we need to make everybody.
Now, if you wanna take over authority on
Maybe
that
that's where we should
through your
start.
ordinance, then we can start looking at that. And we can replace sewer laterals. We can canvas sewer laterals. But none of that was done because we didn't have any authority to do it. And that's
But you
been-
did have authority to do all of our stuff,
Yes.
and you did.
Okay. One manhole at the plant.
There's been more than one. There's some spots down over the hill you ain't done.
Where? Over what hill?
That hill.
Every manhole in this town has been inspected.
What
That's in
about
your
lines?
collection system. Not every manhole's been lined.
Why?
They're
Didn't
new
show any
precast
evidence of
manholes.
needing it. We didn't line every manhole in town. We don't see any evidence of leaks going into it. Why line it? Same with their lines in town.
I thought they were gonna line, man.
Kinda
We lined every one that needed
Some
to
would
be
be done,
done.
some wouldn't be done, that's why I remember.
That's exactly right.
That's why I remember, I'm not.
I mean, I'm consistent in what I've said since before we ever even
All
started
sewer
the whole
lines and manholes.
project.
There would be some not bothered.
Well, there was some new ones, but
And
Yeah.
it looks like picking and choosing because that's exactly what it is. It's picking and choosing based on the need. Why line something if it's not leaking? There's no evidence of it. Why replace something if there's no evidence of doing it? Why line something if there's no evidence of needing it? It's trying to make your money, keep your money, get the most bang for the buck. And that's what we've tried to do since day one. And I've never ever said that we would be at 0% I&I when we were done.
We can't do I know that.
And you're dealing with every lateral, you can't deal with anybody's sewer lateral.
We've had less than an inch and a quarter, inch and a half of rain in this town in June and part of July. We're still running 70%. Now,
How do we know we're at 71% when he couldn't measure it last year?
because he's measuring it right now.
We're running at 71% of the plant's capacity. is
Yeah,
what
it's
we're
not
doing.
71% last year's flow.
Which tabulates to, it averages to 157,000 gallons.
Your
a day.
whole average last year was over your plant capacity, is that not correct?
Our total average for the year was over our plant capacity, yes.
So,
But what my concern is, we're still at 71% in a dry year. All this money we've spent, we should be down around 40 to 50%.
how do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have any I&I and water coming in the pipes, why should we? So do we need to build a bigger plant, Mark?
Not in my opinion.
Is 70% acceptable?
70%'s fine.
I mean, what does a plant operate at? Is there average?
You never wanna be less than 30% or it'll have problems operating. And you never wanna be over 100%. That's your range.
But I can't get past, we're in a dry spell and have been. And we're still operating at 71% of our capacity. I understand, I'm not arguing with you that we may have been over before, but I would like to get under 70% right now. That way, next year, when we get a bunch of rain, we're not running at 125% or 150% and have USDA come up here and slap us around a little bit, or
USDA is
DNR,
not
or
gonna be the one.
DNR.
Part of it is our booster station's running max. Our pumps are running 24 hours a day. We run 126,000 gallons one day. That's people buying consumption, water gardens. That stuff goes back down the sewer.
How do you know it's all the people buying the sewer and water?
The normal household usage, people washing their hands, taking showers, all that stuff's gonna go right back down the drains. They're using more water. That's a part of it. Now, I'm not gonna tell you it's all of it, but our pumps we're running not quite double what we do in the wintertime just on our usage. So that's gonna be a part of it.
So what do we need to do to solve this?
There ain't nothing you can do. That's paid for water. It's
There's
treated
nothing
water.
we can do. What I wanna do is solve this problem before we get to next year and we have 3 inches of rain every month. That's my problem.
What I'm telling you is the big part of that is water that's been bought. It's going through people's meters. It's going down their drains to the sewer plant.
The first ball game was May 16th. The flood was the Monday before the very first ball game. I don't know what date that was, 13th, 14th, something like that. It was right before the first ball game, so it'd been May 16th. We're July 11th, 12th, something like, was it 11th? Okay. The lining crew was what, 40% done May 16th?
Yeah.
We haven't had a rain. We have zero evidence stating that a 2-inch rain is going to flood that plant.
You're right.
We don't. So, I mean, a 2-inch rain.
It's up to us to find out where it's coming in from.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
The mains have been repaired.
And that's what I'm trying to
So
do.
the houses.
I'm telling you, the only place it could come from is the house.
After the main, just like Mark said, after we've addressed all the main issues, and we talked about that when we started the project, is we have to have a place to start. We don't have the leverage to go to every household and say, you got a lateral problem. You've got a 40-year-old lateral you're letting in I&I, because we've got a 70-year-old sewer system. So we have to make sure that our sewer system is good. So when we go to the homeowner and say, hey, we know that we've got a problem, we've smoke tested, and you've got smoke coming out of your lateral. You have to have it fixed. We have our ordinances in place to do that, and they can't come back at us and say, well, you need to fix yours. Mine's better than yours is. No, it's not. We just spent $4 million fixing ours.
Well,
And we've got video, we've got smoke testing, we've got the lining crews inspection afterwards of pipe that all back us up saying that we fixed ours.
And that's fine. I'm not gonna argue that point. What I'm arguing is,
2 answers to your question.
go ahead.
Fix the laterals, 2. That's 1.
Okay.
That solves the water coming in or addresses it. It should reduce it. Or you expand the plant and try to treat everything.
I've got two rebuttals for you. We've had 1.25 inches of rain in a month and a half. Where's this water coming from? Is the ground squeezing it into the pipe and running it down over the hill? That's something I can't get out of my mind. I watch these cornfields and bean fields burn up every day. I see cracks in my yard as wide as my hand. Where's this water coming from?
Springs?
Well, it must be right under the damn laterals.
That's coming out of the faucet, maybe.
Well, you know, you're running 71% capacity. What does that equate to? How many gallons a day? About
150.
150. Okay.
150 to 160.
150,000.
It's right there on their sheet.
So you got 150,000 gallons a day, but 10 of it's contract here, right? So
Roughly,
that's
somewhere
down to
between 5 and 10,
let's
you know, it
say
depends on how many
145,
truckloads they
140,
use a day.
145. And you say you're using how much water a day as far as your water system?
It varies, it's been in the 120s.
120s? Okay, let's just say 100 of that gets there. So we're talking about 40,000 gallons a day that still gets in the system somewhere. Okay. Last
In
year,
a dry month.
Last year,
That's the part I can't get my head around.
last year,
We had plenty more than that, I understand that.
we had a whole year that averaged over the design capacity of the plant.
I'm not arguing that.
And now we have months that we're under the design capacity of the plant.
And I'm still concerned that when we get an actual normal rainfall, that we're still gonna be over. That's my concern.
That plant, you know, as far as running over the capacity, the design capacity, that's design capacity. That's not what the plant can actually handle. Peak is what the plant can actually handle. And that's usually about 2-3 times. I think at this plant, it's rated at about 750,000 gallons a day peak. That's what your UV system's designed for. So that plant should be able to handle 3+ times the design flow. Now, will it come out somewhere in the system before then? I don't think so now.
It's designed to handle 225 gallon or 220 gallon.
But I'm telling you, the peak is
1,000
about
gallons.
3 times that.
What I wanna know is that we spent all this money, is it going to actually fix our problem with DNR coming up? Because if we get an actual normal rainfall, we're still gonna be running 135% according to this year's totals. Roughly, it'll be anywhere from 100 to 125%.
In my opinion, it will, and this is why. One, you have shorter events down there where you have higher flows, because we've removed a lot of those areas where water was coming in, just boom, and slamming the system. So if you take that peak flow, and I don't know what it was before, because we don't have a way to measure it, but if you shorten the duration of it, and you lessen the peak flow, then your volume of water that you've treated is less. You follow what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I just wanna
So-
make sure that we're not gonna get slammed with a bunch more water that somebody didn't expect. And the DNR is not gonna come in on us.
You want me to go on record saying something like that?
No, I just wanna make sure that we are,
I feel comfortable that we've made significant progress.
I know
now.
you've made good progress.
And I feel comfortable in saying that we've addressed what was in the compliance schedule of your last permit. And it wasn't just throwing money at it.
Well,
It
how
was
did you
targeting the
know
money.
where to start though? You yourself have said you didn't know where to start.
How do we
There was
know
no
where
way
start?
to, there was no way to measure the flow, you said yourself.
We had water coming out, we had sewage coming out of the system down there. He didn't keep up with pumps.
That's what I'm saying.
And
now that we
now
can,
he can more than keep up.
At 71% in a dry time. My concern is, with all this money we've spent in the laterals, ours, what have we done over the hill? What can we do different? What do we need to look at different if we're still running 71% more?
You'd have to expand the plant, you don't have available funds to do that.
Then why did we spend the money on the laterals?
Because it's cheaper to fix a collection system than it is to add to the plant. And it saves you money in the long term because you don't run pumps as much. You save energy in treating it when you fix the problem or address the problem of reducing flow that goes to it. That's why you address the collection system first.
So well, then what do we do after the collection system fails?
So do we know we have a problem?
Do we know we have a problem?
Yeah.
An inch and a quarter of rain in less than 45 days, or 45 days plus, and we're running at 71%. It seems to be a problem. I don't know where this extra water is coming from. That's my concern.
Right.
Am I not valid in my concern?
I think that's a legitimate concern, but what I'm telling you is it's coming from your laterals. Now, where it's coming from your laterals at, why it's getting into the laterals, I don't know, but you don't have the ability to address the laterals. There's 30% of your sources of I&I right there in laterals that you can't touch, right off the bat. And that's what we said throughout the whole process. So, if you want to address something, I'll go back to what I said before. You either address the collection system, as far as the laterals at the homes, try to reduce the water, or you expand the plant. But I don't see why you need to expand the plant. I mean, yes, you've got some I&I in your system. Is it what it was? No. Are you running now less than what your design capacity is? Yes. Is it even in a dry time? Yes, it's 71%. Well, let's say we get an inch rain tomorrow and this flow goes up to 250 for a day. And maybe we get an inch and a half next week and it goes up to 275. What does that look like over a month? We have a couple of areas where we're running 145, 150, and then we pop up to 225, 250. What does that average look like?
What you're saying to me right now is, don't worry about it. Whatever runs over the side, we don't worry about it.
Nothing's running over the side. Where's it running over the side?
Where's it gonna run if we've capped off the problem where it ran out the lateral out through the building?
It's gonna stay in the plant.
Where?
It's gonna stay in the plant.
Promise? Because the day it doesn't, I'm gonna call you.
And when if you get a 4-inch rain, I don't know what it's gonna do.
You said an inch and a half. If the backflow preventer works and we've got the shutoff valve off and we overflow our plant, what do we do then?
You have to report it like you would anything else. I'm gonna tell you this, that you can't, there's no community in this state or in this country that designs their facility and addresses their facility for every rainfall event you might get. Either, 1.5 to 2 inches is acceptable. You get 4 inches in an hour, nobody can handle that. You get 4 inches in 2 hours, nobody can handle that. You're not gonna be able to prevent every situation.
I understand that,
But what's reasonable to expect is an inch, 1.5, 2 inches.
71%,
I understand.
and we're in a dry
I
month.
understand.
2 months we've not had, but be roughly close to 2 months. Inch and a half.
Right. Instead of trying to presume what may happen, why don't we see what does happen and see if there is an issue?
It negates you from any liability.
What liability is that?
If it happens after the fact this project's done, then so be it for you. You're paid, you're done, you're down the road. That's my problem.
It's really sad you feel that way. That's all I have to say about it. You want an adversarial relationship, I'm sorry you feel that way.
I don't need an adversary.
That's what I feel like I'm getting at. I
got
just
voted
feel like
in.
you've got a chip on your shoulder.
No,
for some
I've got
reason.
voted into this town.
Yeah, I understand
To
that.
ask questions, and I'm asking them, and you're not liking it.
And I've worked in this town for 20 years, and my firm's worked in this town for over 50. You don't think I have a vested interest?
I hope you do.
Well, I
But
do.
what I'm saying is.
I do, trust me, I do. You can put that into minutes too.
Mark, do you recommend that we start smoking these other lines of the residents to help the situation?
Well,
That was always our second plan. Once we were
I knew
done,
we
once we
did
were
it.
done with the lines, we were always,
She asked him, not you, buddy.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we've talked about doing,
Right.
is smoking those lines, and you have to do it. Like right now is the perfect time to do it, because it's dry.
Okay.
And the smoke has an opportunity to escape up through the ground because it doesn't have water. Yeah, so, but you need to do it when it's dry. But that was always discussed.
Right, because when we had to do that other division over there where we had the sewer problem, you know, I knew we were gonna do it, but I thought maybe it was gonna collect, we could catch it with your project. But
We
didn't.
did do the smoke testing, and we addressed every issue that we saw with the smoke testing.
But it doesn't pick up septic tanks, you're telling me, or I mean.
Some pumps.
Some
It
pumps,
does
yeah.
not pick up some pumps. Smoke won't have anything to do with some pumps.
We eliminated a lot of sump pumps.
Right, right.
Those require an in-home inspection. And your ordinance does require, or allow you to do an in-home
So we need to
inspection.
be doing that, it sounds like.
And then,
Try to help rectify.
you know, and I remember having this discussion with the board at the time, that you have
Yeah, I
to be
remember.
willing to follow your ordinance.
I
and
remember that.
Send them the letter and say you got so many days to fix it. If not, we'll fix it and send you the bill, you know, that kind of stuff, so.
I remember that especially because over in the other subdivision now.
But that is, it's generally accepted that laterals, house laterals, is 30% of your line. So we've only been dealing with 70% of your total line. So that's all we have the authority to do.
Well, I'm not trying to be abrasive, Mark. I'm just trying to get to the problem. The problem is, we're still running 71% in a dry time. My concern is, in a normal rainfall, we're gonna be running over our capacity. That's my main concern.
I understand.
But yet you're taking the stance that I'm attacking you, I'm not. I'm asking questions.
It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. It's a delivery.
And
I'll
it
be
may
honest
be,
with you,
and it may be wrong, I'm more abrasive than the last mayor, and I'm not gonna say I'm not, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. I like answers, and I like to know why.
Nobody asked any questions.
Well, I don't know that that's completely the case either, because, you know, when this project started, I think there were 3 members on this board that was on it when we started this whole process. You two and you, and I don't, you came on and you came on after her, and then you came on and you came on after that.
So I'm trying to catch up to speed.
And so, you know, some of this, you guys don't have a frame of reference for what we've already discussed and what, maybe what the project was, the goals of the project were, what we were gonna be able to address and what we weren't gonna be able to address. And one of the things you always have to do when you do an I&I project is you have what you think you can accomplish with it. And again, we're dealing with 70% of the I&I fund. You can't deal with the 30% that's dealing with utilities. You have to always reassess afterwards and see where you're at. And we're not, I mean, we're just now finishing, so I don't think that we've had an opportunity to assess where we're at completely.
When will we be finished?
Next 1 to 2 weeks.
We'll need 30 days after that, right?
I think you better look at it longer than 30 days.
How many days?
Why don't we look at it through the rest of this year and see where we're at?
Well, I
That
wanna
doesn't mean I go away.
No, I wanna see the flow, I wanna see where we're gonna be. When would be a good time to start looking?
Start looking now.
Okay.
He measures it every day down there. He measures rainfall. He has to report it on his forms to DNR. Every monthly report has a daily rainfall, flow, all of that. So he's got it, it's nothing different for him. He's just recording the same information he always
Correct.
does. Now we just need to look at it and see what it looks like compared to previous years.
What do you expect it to get to after all the flushing?
Well, I expect that we might do better than 71%. 60? You already got pretty good flow in your plant. You're not gonna be less than 50. I can tell you that right now, you'll never be less than 50. And if your concern is what kind of available capacity should the town grow, or I think your bigger concern is rainfall. Just keep in mind that we're talking about a design flow and not a peak flow. The plant can handle, for a short duration, a much higher flow than 220,000 gallons a day. And to me, what we've improved is we've shortened the duration and we've lessened the peak. We need to assess what that looks like. So when he gets a 2-inch rain, his system should respond differently now than what it did last year, this time. Does that make sense? And I think he knows that it responds differently now, but I don't know that he's looked at the measurements to actually put it in consideration. Does that make sense?
Really. We also have another issue, Mike, with power down there.
I still haven't heard back from, what's his name, Pat?
I believe so.
I've sent him several emails and
What
haven't.
power issue?
They came in and
Cameron's abandoning their pole down there. They're gonna give it to us because they don't wanna replace the pole when the transformer's on. They just want to set a new one.
Okay.
So now we have to do something different down there. We can keep it on the old pole, or we can restructure everything down there from the way they explained it to me.
They can, their agreement with you, they can do that to you?
Well, they do whatever they want. They're angry. They, trust me, I've dealt with them extensively. They do as they wish, and they get away with it.
Our stuff is mounted on the old pole.
Our stuff is mounted on the old pole, their pole, they allowed us to hook up to. Supposedly, it's not so much as them allowing us to hook up to, it was CT metered. Our pipe went up with our wire on it, it was CT metered. They're wanting to abandon that and set it outside, which they have, correct?
Yep.
And they've tied in from the new pole to the old pole, a whopping 12 feet. It's left their CT metering up there. They want us to go to manual metering, which means we come up with 3-phase meter box and everything.
And,
Out of our pocket.
well, and the way it was relayed to me is we don't have to do anything.
But if
But
the
the
pole
pole is
fails,
rotten,
it's
and if the
yours.
pole falls,
Yeah.
it's our baby and everything.
Where's it
falls-
rotten at?
At the bottom of the.
At
it's
the
just-
ground?
Yeah, it's just rotten where it's gonna fall.
Well, we have money in the project, we can do
I was
that.
gonna say, why
I think
can't
that's
it be
the
the
perfect
project?
thing to do, is just do it
That's,
that way.
and that's what I
Right.
told him
transfer
is,
switch, but yet we've asked numerous times since.
I don't remember the exact date. It's been over 30 days. They were supposed to give me a part
Spec
sheet
sheet.
and everything of what they want, what they would allow us to do.
Once we get that, we'll just run that through the P-CAT contractor's contract and have their electrician. Does that make sense?
Well, if we're gonna do it, let's go ahead and throw in a transfer switch too, so we can go ahead and run the plant and be generated.
Manual,
Yeah. So if it call, if
do you
there's
wanna
a,
get a generator?
Well, that's probably the next step.
if there's a power outage, you know, I'm gonna be, one of us, me, Ty, or Jason, will be at the plant in less than 20 minutes to be able to transfer power. I don't think
Problem is,
there's,
we didn't really initially see this
Nobody did.
right, and now it's thrown at our feet and our laps.
Well,
and-
The good news is we know about it while we still have the project. And the second good news is we have remaining grant money.
Right,
Right,
the
and
bad
that was
news
great,
is,
yeah.
the bad news is we don't spend money.
Yeah, you could spend it on something else. Okay, so I need the spec sheet.
There is no spec sheet.
as soon as I get it, I will
Once it
forward
comes.
it to you.
I may make a call tomorrow and see if I can grab the pages.
And then, we'll have.
I've still got his card.
I got his phone number. Yeah.
Who are you dealing with? Pat McCarty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got his information.
Well, you'd probably get further with that than I would.
I will call. Well, to me, that's not doing it, but that's gonna get taken care of.
That's what, Mark?
That's not doing it, but we get that taken care of.
Right, it'd be a great time to do it.
Not out of your pocket, but
Almost
out of the
like grant
project.
money.
but-
So would a generator fall into that?
Well, I mean, we've kicked around the idea of what a generator, you know, if that's something the city wants to look at down there. And I haven't really heard any feedback from the city one way or the other, so.
Let's,
I think you ought to at least price one, and spec size it and price one. And if you wanna make the decision, you can.
let's spec one, and the ability to be able to hook up to one at a later date.
Right, that's good.
Now, you can get one that's permanently mounted down there, or you can get one on a trailer mount and use it for some other things and have the ability to run multiple phase power off of it if you want as well. So, I don't know if that's of interest to you. but-
Price either, that way if we had a fire and tornado damage, we could do those things.
What's the capacity that generator would have to be?
I'd have to size it based on the load down there. I don't have that.
Looked like 400 capability, 480.
Yeah, you have to,
I mean,
you have to determine
KVA.
KVA, you have to count that out, so.
Make sure you can run the booster station and the sewer plant at the same time is all I would recommend. I mean, if you get one that close in vicinity and we set a generator, we can run the sewer plant plus pump water at the booster
Is
station.
the booster station single phase power?
It is single phase. The plant only runs about an hour and a half without power and we're in deep trouble. The booster station, the water booster station can run up to 36 hours without being in critical need of water, but
Which we've had to do in the last few months.
You need a lightning capacitor. If you could store lightning, you'd be a rich man.
No kidding.
All right, well, I'll call him and then we'll see if we can come to the next meeting. Mike, as far as the flows and things, can you send me last year's DMRs?
Yep.
And this year's DMRs today, please?
Yep.
And continue sending those to me when you send them to DNR?
Sure.
So we can just look and see what it's actually doing.
Thank you.
So,
There is one other thing before you leave. Mr. Glasgow?
Yes, sir.
He has approached us with the flow of water around the courthouse. You guys haven't heard of this yet. He's wondering about digging a pipe in coming this way and one this way. It may avert some of the water going to Mr. Doss's place.
We've talked about that before.
He wants to talk more extensively about it.
Mainly what our issue is at the courthouse, there on the northwest corner, we hold water there. What we're looking at is through the course of our improvement project, obviously, our downspouts, which run into a dedicated storm sewer, always have. That storm sewer is failing, and we're wanting to reroute those. The best option we come up with is to run them underneath our existing sidewalk onto where our parking area is on the north side of the courthouse. However, in doing so, there's a storm drain on the northeast side. There's not on the northwest. And where that pole is, the electricity pole in the middle of the parking area there, kind of splits and goes both ways. If we do that, it's gonna make a drainage issue worse on that corner. We don't wanna do that.
on the northwest corner?
Yes. The other side, I think the drain ought to handle it. There shouldn't be any reason it shouldn't, I guess. We would be willing to, if the city would be willing to help out, it'd be mutually beneficial to us, I believe. We wanted to do a cost share kind of thing, or we talked about even providing the culverts as well as the drainage basin, I guess.
Up on the northwest corner?
Yes.
And drain it back to the northeast?
It'd be draining back this way. Kind of estimated, very rough estimate, about 90 feet there to get the proper depth of fall. And probably a 15-inch culvert.
Do you know what size the culvert is going out from the catch basin on the northeast?
I don't know. You guys know that much inside.
We could catch some of that at
24 inch on the,
It'd be the community center north, where we've had the issue with Mr. Goss coming across the ditch.
but it's got two splitting into it or something. It's weird, but.
The water he's talking about has nothing to do with the water on my side, because the south side of the street there by the courthouse does not cross the road.
No. If we do that though, Jeff, I was thinking maybe we could go ahead and go straight north and take the water off the west side of the
Off the corner.
block.
But the majority of the water that's a problem is coming off the parking lot and, the 4-H building and all that. It still doesn't go back to that corner. The only thing coming off that corner is from the water tower to the corner. Everything else on that block goes east. It does.
Would you be willing to look at that for us?
I think some of the water is coming off the parking lot of the community center causing.
That's what he's saying, yes.
Yeah, it drains right on the sidewalk.
And there's no catch basin there. It's a pretty sizable parking area. So I wouldn't surprise me.
Somehow we can inundate, catch a part of that water off of that block, going in some of that this way.
Are you gonna address the drains where the bathrooms are at that time with the storm sewer hooked in?
We do
there,
have a plan for
so they
that,
don't
yes.
run in the sewer anymore?
Yep.
Alright.
Somebody will look at that with me sometime.
What day?
What's your phone number? I'll call you.
660-216-0952.
I'll call you.
I might wanna get a hold of one of the commissioners too.
I got his number.
Yeah, we can go ahead and look at it, like I said, if you guys just consider, it'd be beneficial to all of us in the long run. So we're more willing to help out with it. I don't think we won't necessarily eat the whole cost, but we'd help out, for sure.
Roughly, what are you thinking as far as cost?
Honestly, I don't know, I don't know for sure.
Would you bid that out, or you got some forces or something that would do the work, who would do the work, because that drives the cost to a certain extent.
And they've got backhoe, we've got one, surely we can figure it out between the two.
I mean, really, essentially what you're doing is just putting a culvert across the road. It's gonna be a long one due to the little.
Well, I'm just wondering about the need for a catch basin over there by the community center too, to catch that before it gets out of control too, so. Have to see how that sets in line with everything else you're making over there to see what that would look like, so.
I'll have to look at the whole picture, because what are you gonna do with the water once you get it on this side?
Well, that's it, I mean, you certainly don't wanna move the problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem on that line.
So, now we just have to look at it, you guys will have to tell me what you see as the problems. Who knows, maybe I can come up with it today.
That'd be awesome.
That's the best.
Why don't we do a rain dance?
Somebody needs to, it's pretty dry.
You can call me Gary. You want to
That's
cite me?
Rain dance?
That's the
No.
best. That's the best time to
that's
do it,
what I
you can
thought
see
you
what's
said.
actually.
Y'all think wrong.
I gotta see this. We'll get you some feathers in your hair.
I keep doing that.
Pay request, Ron first. Who's happening, that?
That was Willis.
No, that's Casey, I think you could contact
Casey.
him.
Yeah.
Know that there's ever a vote on
Everybody voted aye.
that.
So that's the only one you addressed.
Okay, I'll try to get through the rest of it. Kid Cut Contractors has a deduct change order too. We had a change order to, there was a problem at the lift station, we thought the base was bad at the school lift station. Because they were never able to get the water down low enough to be able to see it exactly. So we did a change order 2 months ago to have them come do that work. Mike got some materials in, and we've got all that ready, and then we called them came up to do the work and they pumped it down, and it wasn't a base issue, it was the way their bracket was connected to it. And so, I said, well, you didn't do the work, so I want to deduct that. So, they gave me a deduct of $3,380, and basically that is for the work they would have done, but they still had to show up and deal with the problem, so, we need to approve change order 5 for a deduct of $3,380.
Right.
I'll second. Ryan, will second. And Renee?
All in favor? Unanimous? Unanimous? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The next item is Utility Solutions, the manhole guys. They submitted pay request number 6 for $7,383.46. That's really their next to last pay request on that. So that gets them to complete less than routine.
That'll finish them out.
Yes, we're talking about
Other than
here some more.
routine.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, and they did have one final change order too, number 3. Change order number 3 for $7,515.03. And what that has to do with is we got a couple of additional manholes that we noted. I know that we found one when our lining guys were doing some work that after rain was leaking, and so we had them go in and take care of that. Utility Solutions, the one down by the wastewater plant, we had them lined. There's a couple of them that we had to put some new steps in because the steps were all ate up and stuff. So, and then we had a couple that we had some casting modifications. We had some struggles on this project with castings. You guys, I don't know how many different castings for your manholes in this town. And there wasn't a lot of uniformity, and so we went to do some adjustments. And we had a lid that was cracked. Well, then we couldn't get the lid that fit the casting, and so we had some modifications with that. So that's what that change order is about. And that's their final change order. Address that.
So are we more even now with all this?
Everywhere we worked is uniform now. I can't say the whole town is, but it's way more uniform than it used to be.
The only one that sticks out in my mind is the one down by the priest house. It was cracked.
Yeah.
We able to address that, or
It's gonna be taken care of later this week.
because it wouldn't, we couldn't hardly dry it at all.
Yes, that's exactly right. We told them that, and that's on the list for later this week.
So, is this for the change order number 3?
Change order, what was the change order number?
Number 3.
Okay.
Don, second? Renee? All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, and then, one of the procedural items when we get to basically 100% complete with the contract is certificate of substantial completion. And what that is that indicates, that they're done with the work that's in the contract. There may be a few items that remain that would be a punch list or warranty work. And so we've prepared that certificate of substantial completion. And those things are noted on there. And like I said, they're scheduled to come later this week or first of next to take care of those remaining issues. So, and if not, we've got their bond. So we've got a whole year for something else comes up that they're out of their warranty. That triggers the 1-year warranty. So I bring that up to you.
So this is a certificate of substantial completion for which?
Utility
Oh,
Solutions.
utility solution, okay. I'll make that motion.
Renee? Ron, second?
Ryan.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay.
Okay, and then,
there's 4 items on their list, and they have, would just as easily be considered warranty items, to be taken care of in 1 year, and they're scheduled already, so. The final request amount is $38,639. Yes, so that's something you want to entertain to see if you can.
Why don't we wait till next meeting?
I make a motion to that effect. Two-way solutions, $38,639.
You want to pay it?
Might as well, send them the warranty together.
Yeah, we still got their bond.
Entertain a second?
Yeah, they got like 4 trivial items and they're done.
Unanimous.
Willis Brothers completed their work for that, work over there on Fulton Street, so they submitted their final pay request. And we've already closed them out, we kind of did that last 2 months ago. Closed them out, and then we approved that change order at the same time, so, we didn't hold up their final payment. This really is their final payment, it's $19,156, and it's pay request number 9.
What are
They will be completely done.
They don't have any.
They just gotta do cleanup once it settles, and we haven't had any rain to have it settle, so.
Motion for
Pay them.
And they're under
Second.
warranty too, so.
They still have, yeah, we get the year on all of them.
unanimous.
Then we have municipal pipe tool. They, submitted pay request number 3, and it's quite large because they haven't given us one since April, I believe. And so, that amount is $529,666.34. It represents probably the last 2 months' work on line. It's not their final. They'll have at least 1 more, if not 2 more, so.
Half a million, jump in there and spend some money.
Entertain a motion? No? All in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, and then to order the funds, we have an estimate of funds amount of $606,421.18. And what that includes is the pay requests that were approved this evening, the Klinger invoice of $1,695. We have an invoice for dirt and equipment. One of the things that Mike ran into when we hooked up the flow meter down there at the plant, into our SCADA system, is that it would not communicate, and so we had to update this flow meter. And, that was $2,832, so we can get that in with this project. And then, Ty, there was a lift station repair, are you back there still? Ty? Ty?
Yeah.
There was a Vanderbilt bill for a lift station repair.
Pump repair.
Pump repair. It was a pump repair, not, we didn't replace any pumps on your lift station, but I guess, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
We just pulled one at Farm Home, the bearings was out. They've got another one now.
You mentioned that the last time, at the last meeting, it was 2/3 the price to replace bearings and pump.
Yeah, the pumps are, I'm supposed, they're gonna give me a quote on them because of something we kinda thought about their extra monies, I might have a spare, just, cause like right now, we're running on 1 pump down there. Cause we put the new one back, we got back, and we pulled the other one. It's the same way you turn it on, they go to shimming and shaking pretty bad, but, so, that's what the Vanderbilt bill was. It's like
That-
5,341.
Yeah.
Bearing?
We bought the new pump.
So,
Well, I mean, they rebuilt it, but.
that wasn't part of our project, since it was a pump, we just actually updated rails and controls and things, but, we can certainly submit that in, so you don't have to pay for it out of your general, so, that's what you want to do. In fact, you may have already paid for it.
Yeah, we already paid.
So this would be a reimbursement back to you, so. So all of those things are included in that estimate of funds amount, so you need an approval on that to order the funds to pay all that.
So let's first that. Rome?
Spell that word.
The last item for South Street lift station, which I wanted to put all that in one time since it's not really related to the sewer project that we had going. I did talk to Margaret. You said the farm shop is supposed to sign theirs tomorrow. The Trouts have signed, and I think we're down to Kelly Hayes and his wife, so.
He's not here today.
So, as soon as those are signed, we can get that project done. That's where we're at with it.
As we're gonna hold up on that one, for a reason.
I have not my knowledge.
I think the farm shop wanted to see the water line get,
Which it has.
which has been done, so.
Right.
And I'm not aware of any other issues, so.
I'm just surprised he hasn't.
Well, I will talk with Ameren on this electric, and I'll call you and set up something on this courthouse drainage issue. Any other questions?
Again, I don't wanna seem like I'm abrasive, they should understand. I'm my first time,
I'm learning you like you're learning me, so we're gonna try to figure out how to work.
No hard feelings, Mark, it's just business.
I understand. Okay.
I suppose.
Is that traveling to do?
Gotta do it now.
Well, critters on the road.
So some people in your park doing that Pokemon app. Hear about that?
My niece was doing it in Florida.
Do what now?
Some kind of a Pokemon.
App on your phone, it's like a scavenger hunt with Pokemon.
What is Pokemon?
It's, I don't know how to explain
It's
it.
like a big scavenger hunt.
I saw 6 or 7 kids in the courthouse out there doing flip
There's about 15 of them out there right now.
I get enough apps on my phone, I don't need another one.
I'm sorry, there's so many places to sign. You need to get a stamp.
She won't let me.
Y'all want some candy? There's plenty of candy up here. Throw it. Which one you want? Wintergreen or
Wintergreen.
atomic? You wanna go atomic?
Like a zombie back there.
What, wintergreen?
I don't need to add a comment to it.
What, wintergreen?
You want a wintergreen? More?
She asked me.
Am I gonna get in trouble? Anybody?
Thank you.
That ain't near enough, huh?
I wouldn't be signing my long name.
You can just put DOT on there.
Yeah, that would work.
My bedtime is 10 o'clock. Yeah.
Messy, you're right.
I sign my name at the store, I'm always leaving out
I
letters.
see squiggly lines and I'm like, yeah, I guess that's kind of weird.
DK, that's all you need.
Shake it up, I read out different letters every time. They couldn't spell my name if they wanted to.
Dorothy creek shelter.
Oh, shut up. We're not in Kansas. Oh, shut. I can tell, but you want to tell stories, I'll go with it.
Sorry.
Elmer's the only one that can't stop. He went out with his.
I don't think we'll have this much business.
Yeah.
I didn't save it up from last month, I really had no people.
Yeah, here, I thought I was sneaking out.
Yeah, right.
And I could've come, but there was no accident.
Oh my God, so.
Trust me, I'd rather been here than where I was at.
No, you didn't.
No, I saw on Facebook, you were having fun.
One minute minute in time.
Beers around the world, and he went around the
I
world.
was there for a week.
Margaret, that's what the yellow tag is on that one. You need to sign it. I color coded it.
I don't have to stop the live stream and restart it because you're doing that now. It'll save up to it.
No, I get your copies.
I drank $88 worth of beer in 5 hours.
Yeah.
12 beers.
$8
$8 a beer.
I'm guessing at least 5 hours after that wasn't as fun.
No, well, worked on the boiler. Marine Corps was lagging.
Where was it where the photo of the guy laying flat on the ground? What town was that?
I didn't like any of it, to be honest with you. I didn't like my preference.
I would think Germany would be good. Germany?
We did them all. We started out doing it in a 7-hour period, and then we got rushed into doing it quicker. Epcot.
Oh, the world, or where they call it. Great memories.
You get fired up.
That was the highlight of the trip. The rest of it was Disney World. You can't get Margaret to sign your name? Isn't that legal?
Don't give me a stamp.
Yeah,
My sure wife
he's a worshiper here, man. I saw my name or something on the back one time, and they gave it back to me and told me to take it and never bring it to them.
Depends on sign your name better.
But it was himself, and he was trying to.
I think there are a lot of these.